Let's talk about a car the internet somehow underdiscusses relative to how good a deal it is. The Mazdaspeed 3. You can buy a clean second-generation example right now for $8,000 to $10,000. Stock. It makes 263 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque from a 2.3-liter turbocharged 4. It does 0 to 60 in the mid-5-second range. A Cobb access port tune on 93 octane adds 30 to 50 wheel horsepower for another $700. For under $11,000 all in, you have a car that will genuinely surprise people who paid 3 times that for something more obvious. But the Mazdaspeed 3 has a reputation that's complicated. It's loved by the people who own and maintain them correctly. It's feared by people who've heard about what happens when you don't. This video is going to be honest about both. First, why it's so good. The 2.3-liter MZR Dicey turbo engine, shared with the Mazdaspeed 6 and the CX-7, is a solid turbocharged platform. It's responsive, it sounds good under boost, and the factory tune is conservative enough that there's meaningful room for improvement with just a ref flash. No hardware changes required for stage 1. The chassis is also genuinely capable. Mazda's engineers set up the Mazdaspeed 3 with a front heavyweight bias that creates predictable, if dramatic, understeer at the limit. This is manageable once you learn it. It's not a corner killer like some FWD hot hatches. It's a point-and-shoot car that rewards confidence and punishes the timid approach to cornering. The 6-speed manual gearbox is the component that needs attention. Stock synchros in the transmission are a known weak point, particularly under high-power tuned conditions. Under normal use, they're fine. If you're planning to make more than 300 wheel horsepower, you need to plan for a transmission rebuild or upgrade. Budget $2,000 to $3,000 for this if you're going aggressive. Turbo seals also warrant attention on higher mileage examples. The original turbocharger seals can let engine oil migrate into the intake when they wear, causing blue smoke at startup. A rebuilt or replacement turbo is $600 to $1,200 depending on whether you go OEM or aftermarket. The Cobb or Forge options are well-regarded upgrades at the $900 to $1,200 price point. The direct injection engine also needs a catch if you're keeping the car long-term. Direct injection deposits carbon on intake valves over time, unlike port injection engines where fuel wash keeps the valves clean. A quality oil catch can run $80 to $150. This is genuinely preventive maintenance on this platform, not optional. Now for the comparison. A new Subaru BRZ, a legitimate sports car, starts at approximately $30,000 and makes 228 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in about 6.2 seconds stock. A Civic Type R, the benchmark hot hatch, runs $43,000 new and makes 315 horsepower, doing 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. A tuned Mazdaspeed 3 at 300 wheel horsepower, purchased used and tuned for under $12,000 total spend, runs a legitimate 5.5 seconds to 60 and quarters in the mid-13ths. That puts it ahead of a stock BRZ and within a car's length of a stock Type R, for a quarter of the Type R's price. The honest caveat: the Type R experience is dramatically more refined. The Mazdaspeed 3's torque steer under hard acceleration is notorious and real. 280 pound-feet of torque through front wheels requires some steering input management at full throttle. Experienced drivers learn this quickly. First-time FWD performance car drivers find it genuinely alarming the first time they encounter it. The platform ceiling is also lower than a Type R. You can push a Mazdaspeed 3 to around 350 wheel horsepower with a built short block and supporting modifications, at which point you've spent more than a Type R costs and have a car with inferior suspension, interior quality, and daily reliability. The Mazdaspeed 3's value proposition is real up to about 300 wheel horsepower and a $15,000 total budget. Beyond that, the math starts to work against you. Here's the buyer profile for whom this car makes complete sense. You're 22 to 30. You want a car that's genuinely fast, teaches you something about car control, and doesn't require you to finance a $40,000 payment. You're willing to spend $300 to $600 per year on preventive maintenance. You have a catch can on your list of first modifications. You've done your pre-purchase inspection and verified the transmission synchros are clean. For that buyer, the Mazdaspeed 3 is one of the best deals in the used performance car market and has been for the last 5 years. It isn't a car that's going to be easy to find at $8,000 forever. Inventory has been tightening as the enthusiast community discovers the platform. Get in now while the math still makes sense. Let's also talk about the buying process specifically, because a good Mazdaspeed 3 is the difference between a rewarding ownership experience and an expensive lesson. When you're inspecting a Mazdaspeed 3, the first thing you want is evidence the car was tuned on a proper setup, not just flashed with an off-the-shelf map someone downloaded. Ask if there's a cob access port with a custom tune. An off-tuned car on a generic map is not dangerous, but it's also not optimized for its specific intake, exhaust, and atmospheric conditions. A proper custom tune is $400 to $700 and is the first thing to budget if you're buying a stock car. Check the catch can. If there's no catch can installed on a high-mileage example, budget to have the intake valves cleaned. Carbon buildup on direct injection intake valves is real and progressive. A walnut blast intake cleaning runs $150 to $400 at a shop that does it. This is maintenance, not a repair. Test drive with the boost gauge visible. A stock Mazdaspeed 3 should pull cleanly to redline with consistent boost. Surging, hesitation, or inconsistent boost indicates either a worn turbo, a boost leak, or a fueling issue. All are fixable, but change the negotiating price. The sweet spot in the market is a 2010 to 2013 second generation with under 90,000 miles, a documented maintenance history, an installed catch can, and either a cob tune or a stock ECU waiting for your tune. That car, purchased at $9,500 to $11,000 and tuned for $600, is a genuinely excellent value in the used performance market. The Mazdaspeed 3 rewards the buyer who does the research. The buyer who doesn't get what they paid for, a fast car with deferred maintenance and unknown history. On this platform, the difference between a great ownership experience and a problematic one is almost entirely in the pre-purchase diligence. Do the inspection. Budget for the known maintenance items. Buy the access port first. The car will reward you for it.